Let's talk paint, and this is an unsolicited and unsponsored mention of a particular brand. Sherwin-Williams was one of the first paint companies to put paint in tin cans rather than what was conventional at that time, canvas bags. They were also the first to pioneer the paint roller, and they're a well-known international brand. They've just been introduced to Australia this year through Masters Hardware, who've now just gone bust. I was wondering whether Sherwin-Williams brand would die in Australia with Masters, but at one of the Masters stores I bumped into a sales rep from Sherwin-Williams who told me that they've just paid $9 billion for Valspar paints, and so anywhere in Australia where you can get Valspar paint will eventually start selling Sherwin-Williams paint. They often have half-price manufacturer's specials. You would think that it's the paint shop having the special, but it's actually the manufacturer. This is where I bought this Paint and Prime cashmere paint for doing the ceilings and my walls. A mistake that a lot of home renovators make when they come to paint new gyprock or plasterboard is they don't use the correct primer or undercoat. And what happens is they'll put on a couple of coats of nice top coat paint, and you'll get bleed through where the joins are and where you've filled your nail holes. And those patches will come through regardless of how many coats of other paint you put on top of top coat paint, because the paint is bleeding through into the surface of the filler, which is more porous than the gyprock. My wife said that she lived in a house once that had been renovated, and it didn't matter how much she painted it, all the joining lines kept coming through. What you've got to do in that case, and with new, is to use primer or undercoat to seal it. Now, Paint and Prime is a fairly new invention in the paint world over the last couple of years, and it aims to remove the obligatory step of having to prime it. It's primer and paint in one, as it says, and that's what I've gone with in the Sherwin-Williams range. You'll find that in the shops, particularly the trade centres, there's a lot of scepticism and doubt about paint and primer, and they'll always want to sell you top finish paint and undercoat as separate, and a lot of trade painters will be the same. I spoke to the Sherwin-Williams representative, and he said that you will get variations in sheen depending on what brand of gyprock you've got. And so if you've got different brands of plasterboard or gyprock in your build, particularly where there's a renovation, you'll get a slight difference in the finish of the paint if you use Paint and Prime. So Paint and Prime is okay where it's all the same brand, and that's what I've got here. All my gyprock in this house, ceilings and walls, it's brand new, it's all come from the same manufacturer at the same time, so I can use Paint and Prime. So I've only got to put 2 coats on these walls instead of 3. Having sprayed my ceilings, I thought I'd give you a bit of feedback. First of all, on the paint itself, Sherwin-Williams, which as I said, is fairly new to Australia. Before I used it, I checked out a number of reviews, and I found I'd read one and it'd say, "This is the best paint I've ever used." Then I'd read the next one and it'd say, "This is the worst paint I've ever used." And it was literally negative, positive, negative, positive. I've realised in retrospect that that's probably because the reviews were just about the brand name rather than the endless variety of types of paint that they make. Certainly the paint and prime cashmere that I used was brilliant. I've had excellent coverage in 2 coats. You can't see any of my join work in the ceilings. Got a really nice flat ceiling. 2 coats, easy peasy. For what it's worth, would I recommend Sherwin-Williams paint? Yes, absolutely, I would. Would I recommend paint and prime compared to primer undercoat and 2 coats of top colour coat? Yes, I would. Any brand paint and prime is definitely a shortcut. You've just got to be aware of the limitations of the types of surfaces and the applications in which you can use it. And what about using the airless spray gun for the first time? Well, let me just put it this way. I think I'm going to throw away my paint rollers. I can't think of a situation that you can match the speed and the quality of finish of an airless spray gun. And I only bought a real cheap one on eBay. So if you're going to do any substantial amount of painting, get yourself an airless spray gun. Yes, you've got to do a bit of masking with your windows, and on a new build obviously it's easiest to use because you've got very little to mask off. But I think even in a home renovation, an airless spray gun would be more than worthwhile in the time that it'll save yourself. The speed which you could see at which I could paint was just phenomenal. You know, a ceiling in under 4 minutes, just great. And no ladders, no planks, just do it. Walk in, do the ceiling. For spraying ceilings, you need the extension tube on your spray gun, which allows you to put your nozzle at the correct distance off your ceiling and saves you the problem of having to use ladders and planks and so forth. And depending on the height of your ceilings, there's all sorts of lengths of these things available on eBay, and you can, if you've got really high ceilings, there's no reason why you couldn't couple a few together of different lengths. So even if you had really high ceilings, you'd still be able to do them from the ground with an airless spray gun. Like any tool that you use for the first time, using the spray gun the very first time was a little bit daunting. I didn't know what I was doing, and I had some learning to do. You've got to be careful that all your hoses and tubes are really pinched up tight, because the slightest looseness and the paint, because it's under such high pressure, will bleed out. So I've got a couple of interesting marks on the floor where that happened, but I soon learnt to get everything up really tight. So if that happens to you, don't panic. It's just part of your learning process of using one for the first time. The most important thing with an airless spray gun, like any spray gun, is that you've got to clean it thoroughly when you're finished, so that you don't get all those fine jets and so forth clogged up with paint that's dried. So be prepared that when you finish using an airless spray gun, it's going to take you probably 15 minutes to clean it properly. As a result of that, the time that takes, I learnt to get a lot of work ready to go, and then once I started using the spray gun, I just kept painting everything that I had ready to go. So it's not a tool that's really suited to little short jobs, you know, from day to day. I'll do this room one day and I'll do the other room the next day. It really suits doing a whole lot of work in one go, so that your time in cleaning the tool at the end is worthwhile. The method of cleaning that I was happiest with after using the spray gun was to have 2 buckets of water, both about half full of water. I'm a half full bucket sort of guy, not the other way around. You put your suction tube in 1 bucket of water. This is obviously with water-based paint. and then put your gun with the nozzle reversed on it to the cleaning position. I put it into the bucket of water and under the level of the water, and then I just kept spraying. You'll find with an airless spray gun it does take about half a bucket of water before the nozzle is ejecting clear water rather than just paint. It's surprising how much paint these airless spray guns hold in the gun and the tube and so forth. So it takes a while to wash all that out, and basically with the two buckets you're transferring clean water to another bucket which is getting dirty, and by having the nozzle underneath the water you save getting mess everywhere. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going, and then when about a half a bucket of water is gone, I just do a test spray on something and see that there's water coming through. Then you take the gun completely apart. When you undo your spray gun handle and you take out the filter that's up inside there, it looks like it's covered in material or fur of some sort. And what that is all the garbage that the filter has caught. They're a really fine mesh, and it's amazing the amount of stuff that they catch in brand new paint, still in the manufacturer's container. This thing was just absolutely covered with speckles of stuff that would have gone through the gun and clogged it. So you've got to take that filter out and wash it out, and then you can reuse it. I've got the ceilings done and the walls are next. I can't wait for the next episode in which I'll show you a brand new tool that's only just been released that I'm bringing out from America. It'll change forever the way you paint. See you in the next episode.